Hey, good afternoon to you. It is 5:06 here on News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we are making sense of the news. Coming up this hour, we'll be joined by Eric Trump, Executive Vice President of the Trump Organization. We'll talk to him about his father's latest run for president and how he assesses the state of the race. As always, you can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. I've got an update for you on those Amazon Echo devices, the ones who are telling you to vote for Kamala and that they have no reason why you should vote for Trump. John Rich of Big and Rich gave us this demonstration today.
Hey, Alexa, why should I vote for Donald Trump?
I cannot provide content that promotes any political views.
Hey, Alexa, why should I vote for Kamala Harris?
Why vote for Kamala Harris? Because you believe in her policies and her vision for the country. Because you trust her experience and her leadership skills. Because you want to continue moving forward as a nation and make progress on issues that matter to you, like healthcare, education, equality, and justice.
And he tried it in reverse, too. He said, why shouldn't I vote for these two? And when it came to Kamala, she said, sorry, I can't help you with that. And then he says, what about Trump? And then she gives this litany of reasons why he shouldn't vote for Trump. Okay, so what explains that? Let's get to the bottom of this. What could possibly explain this discrepancy in responses? Well, Just the News has a story up now this hour on this subject. Headlined, Amazon admits error made Alexa provide differing answers on voting for Trump versus Harris. Oh, an error, you say. Amazon on Tuesday admitted that it made an error with its voice service, Alexa, when it provided fundamentally different answers on why a user should vote for Vice President Kamala Harris versus former President Donald Trump. Social media users, Fox News, all observing this behavior out of the device and how it gave a solid answer on why a person should vote for Harris, but merely stated that it can't endorse a political candidate when asked about Trump. And it ran through all of the answers that the device was giving to people as they were asking these questions. Amazon said today that it had, quote, addressed the error and that it has teams that will continue monitoring for issues that violate its policies. It also noted that Alexa does not have any political views itself. Well, no kidding. It's a robot. Of course it doesn't have political views itself. It's programmed by humans. Quote, this was an error that was quickly fixed, said an Amazon spokesperson in a statement. Okay. So do we believe this? There was an error? Come on. What a stupid explanation. That's another lie. Karine Jean-Pierre, when she gets out of the White House, she should go to Amazon and work as a spokesperson for them serving these never-to-be-believed lies, brazen lies. It was just an error. It was a mistake. It was weird. It was a typo in a line of code that led to this. The typo was don't help Trump. That was the typo. That was the typo that they installed into the code for Alexa. Matt from Rockville wants to talk about this on line 5. Hello, Matt. You are on the Vince Coglianese show.
Hey, Vince. If Karine Jean-Pierre ends up going to work for Amazon for Alexa, I hope that they just start playing the binder pages flipping before it actually responds.
Yes.
But in first place, about Alexa saying you should vote for Harris for a number of reasons, blah, 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 blah. The first accomplishment that they said was she has already broken down a major gender barrier. So does that not mean that all the programmers at Amazon, or if they're using AI, doesn't that mean that they all know that she's a DEI hire?
Right. Yeah. They code into the whole thing that her achievement is existence. That's her achievement. And most voters would like a little bit more than that, wouldn't they, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, normally you lead with your strongest point. Her strongest accomplishment is being a box check.
She's alive. She exists. Wow, what an achievement. Yeah, and Matt, what's crazy about this? The way that Amazon has, quote, fixed this error is they now say that when you ask about either candidate, which I tried this afternoon, this explains why I wasn't able to get any meaningful answer. It just responds that it can't talk about politics anymore. It just says, I can't, some version of I can't talk about that. That's not the outcome that I want. I want you, go ahead. Just tell me you did an internet search, and here are the 10 reasons people say that they're voting for Trump. Give me the 10 reasons people say they're voting for Kamala. Go ahead, give it to me. I don't need to have this censored from me. I'm sorry, I can't weigh in on that topic. The way that they've tried to, quote, fix this problem is by playing into this idea that Americans are too stupid to hear Google search results read back to them, and that it might be dangerous for them to find out what other people think about politics.
Or just have the stones enough to come out and say, we're pro-Democrat, we don't care. Because then at least we know you're being honest with us.
Exactly. Yes. That would be honesty, which is not what we're being given today. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate the call on that. Yeah, no, that's a good point, Matt. That's the first thing that the machine brings up. She's like, well, she broke glass ceilings. What? Enough breaking stuff, by the way. We're done with breaking stuff. How about let's bring about some order to the country? Nancy is calling in from Seaside Park, New Jersey, on line 1. Hello, Nancy. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Good afternoon. I called my dear friend Alexa, and she said that bots should not affect elections. However, and I didn't follow up on this, you could go to turbovote.org.
That's what your Amazon device told you to do?
That's what my dear friend Alexa told me to do.
Okay, so I'm doing it now. I just went there. I just clicked the about. It's a product of something called Democracy Works, which refers to itself as a nonpartisan, 501c3 registered nonprofit organization. Democracy Works, and I'm gonna get to the bottom of this right now. Democracy Works. Who are these people? Well, they're all over NPR. That gives you an answer right away.
Oh dear.
I'll keep digging in, but there you go. So they're directing you to this get out the vote effort, and chances are this is just a typical left-wing hatchet operation. So Nancy, thank you for that. You did the interview.
I think she's a better friend than sending me somewhere bad like that.
Yeah. I thought you were on my side, Alexa. Thank you, Nancy. I appreciate the call. Let me. You too, Nancy. Nancy's out there in beautiful Seaside Park, New Jersey. Let's see. Ross calling in from Front Royal now, line 2. Hello, Ross. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hello, Vince. Long-time listener. Love your show.
Thank you.
For a long time, I used to always have this question I would ask my friends when we get into discussion about AI, and especially things like Alexa going on here. If you asked it, who won the 1976 decathlon in the Montreal Olympics, it would give you a name that was not the one that won it.
What would it say?
It would give you Caitlyn Jenner, but not Bruce.
I don't think Caitlyn Jenner was in that. I think it was Bruce, if memory serves.
That's correct. But it took them a long time to try to correct that because too many people were calling them out on it there, and it goes on and on like that.
Yeah.
Nothing new to what goes on with that. Don't ever trust getting any information from AI.
Yeah, all right. Well, thank you. That's what a smart point. Thank you, Ross. Yeah, this is, and it can be rigged by the humans that establish the inputs, which is, of course, how you end up when you're speaking to your Amazon speaker and you're like, who should I vote for? And then all of a sudden it's telling you to vote for Kamala. It wasn't an error. Whoops. Somebody tripped over a plug and all the pro-Trump answers just disappeared. No, it's not an error. I just gave, I'm looking at Influence Watch right now on this group, Democracy Works. And they say, Democracy Works is a member of Bridge Alliance, a left-leaning social welfare coalition that supports numerous left-of-center election reform policies and is partnered with the left-of-center PAC Unite America. So that's the answer to that. So if this idea that you go to this website, if the Echo device, the Amazon device is telling you, go to this website for your voting, and of course it's run by a left-wing operation, it's the same. It's all the same people. At the bottom of it, it's always the same people. I do this all the time, by the way. You can do this at home too. Influence Watch, great website. Go to Influence Watch, and if you see an organization with a name that you don't detect or you feel like you're being misled, just enter it into their search engine and see what comes up. And you'll find out all the billionaires that are associated with it, all the left-wing causes that they're involved with, all of the shell organizations they use to advance all of this stuff. It's all right there. I mean, it can be pretty easily stitched together, and Influence Watch is a great website for that. A really handy website to get to the bottom of that. One of the things I want to dwell on for just a moment is if you didn't hear the program yesterday, we spent some time talking about the Gold Star families who Kamala Harris has decided to begin attacking. Last week, President Trump held that event. He didn't even hold the event. He was a guest of the event with the Gold Star families at Arlington of the 13 who were killed in Afghanistan. And so President Trump went last Monday at their invitation right here in the D.C. area, of course, Arlington National Cemetery, and was with them. And the families were all super appreciative of this. Well, the left doesn't know what to do with it because they realize how bad it looks because Kamala Harris and Joe Biden abandoned the 13. They don't talk to them. They don't say their names in public. The families feel completely disrespected by the Biden-Harris administration. And so the tact they chose during this weekend, Kamala Harris and company, was to attack the event. Kamala Harris on Saturday puts out an X post attacking the Gold Star family event and saying it was nothing more than a Trump campaign event and Trump used these families. No. And all the families, they came out with videos this weekend. Not all of them, most of the families. I think it was eight of the 13 families, I believe is the number, came out with videos of the parents or the in-laws releasing statements saying, how dare you, basically. He was there at our invitation, and you have not been there for us at all. And I don't know whose bright idea this was in Kamala Harris's campaign. You know what we should do? We should attack the event organized by the Gold Star families. You're psychopaths. That's the craziest possible idea. That's the worst possible strategy. How many times do you see people on television who describe themselves as Democrat strategists? There's a Democrat strategist. Well, apparently not a good one is available to the Kamala Harris campaign. This is moronic that they went down this road. Look, I don't know what to tell you. Take the L. You have lost this entire thing. And the last thing you want to be doing is directing more people to give this attention. What you have done to these Gold Star families. And here they go. They attack the event. Kamala Harris, on her own account, or whoever wrote this for her, but obviously trying to give it to Kamala Harris, having ownership of this, attacking this event. It's crazy. So this will be one of the things I want to talk about with Eric Trump, because this just boggles the mind. This boggles the mind. How could you even think that this was good strategy? Look, I get that she's lying to everyone right now about her actual positions. At least that makes sense. It's brazen, and people shouldn't fall for it. But here she is now, in the midst of an election, in just the last 60 or so days here, saying, oh, I'm for walls. I'm for security. I'm for enforcing the law. I'm for no tax on tips. I'm for, what was Trump for? I'm for that. I'm for that. She'll say this to you because she needs to mislead you into supporting her, or at least not supporting her opponent. I got that. But attacking the Gold Star family event, that's crazy. That's truly nuts. And it's another sign of why she should be nowhere near returning to the White House yet again. Line 4, Mike calling in from Sunshine now. Mike, good afternoon, sir. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Yeah, thanks, Vince, for taking my call. You know, that Gold Star mom went on CNN and said, we invited the White House. And then the White House says, no, they didn't invite us. So are they calling her a liar? And where's the journalist who's going to get to the bottom of that communication? The other thing is, on NBC over the weekend, NBC tells Tom Cotton, Kamala was at Dover Air Force Base as they came back from Abbey Gate. That turned out to be a lie.
Right.
And so they had to retract that. So this is sloppy journalism that's shooting them in the foot, and I'm kind of happy with it.
Yeah, no, it's theatrical disinterest. They do not want to get to the bottom of this. That's the last thing they want to do. They're uncomfortable with the fact that the Gold Star families are speaking in public about all of this and saying that the candidate that the media are backing is lying to you. So the way that they handle this is there's a guy called David Burge with his name's Iowa Hawk on Twitter. So the way that he's described this in the past, the media don't cover important stories. The way they cover it is with a pillow until it stops breathing. That's the way they cover important stories. And we're watching that happen again.
Yes, well, Eric Weinstein has a word for it. He calls it anti-interested, not disinterested. They're anti-interested. All of the producers who tell the talent, we're not talking about this ever.
Yeah, no, that's right. Well, I mean, it's a conspiracy of instinct too. They know it's partisan instinct. You don't even need to send the message out. They're like, oh, this is crappy for Kamala. Let's move on. Something else entirely. Meanwhile, on the right, we debate everything. Anything that doesn't even look or smell good, we're always debating it, probably to a fault. But on the left, man, they move in lockstep, don't they, Mike?
Yes, they do. They're very good at it.
Yeah.
And yep. Thank you, Vince.
All right, Mike. Be well. Mike, good point about all of this. Connor is calling in on line 5 from Huntsville, Alabama. Now, Connor, all the way from Alabama. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Yeah, Vince, on the WMAL app, y'all
love that.
It's got a huge, great lineup. I was really sort of bummed out by the Trafalgar guy. I don't see why this thing is so doggone close. And then followed up by the guy who said that his mother says that got people who aren't voting for Trump because they don't like him.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a flipping. That one boils my blood just a little bit more than the vibe thing. We're not voting for a flipping class president. With this, can people not see the direction that Harris wants to take the country? And maybe with Eric Trump, you can get into when are they going to put the hammer down on this woman's past and really go to the wall with it, because her history is just not getting out there.
Yeah, and you're right about this. I think this idea that you're voting for your pastor, well, that's not true. You're not voting for a perfect human being. There's no such thing. You're voting for the person who's going to closest approximate what it looks like to have a functioning country, and that is not Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is literally leading us into dysfunction. We had one round with Donald Trump, and it was far more functional, and there's a lot of us who are looking forward to that happening again, God willing. All right, stay with us. Eric Trump, President Trump's son, on the other side of the news. Welcome back to the Vince Coglianese Show. Joining me now, the Executive Vice President of the Trump Organization and the son of the 45th and perhaps 47th President of the United States, Eric Trump, is here. Eric, great to have you with us, sir.
It's great to be back on, Vince.
How are you feeling about the election? If you, when you wake up each morning, and what are you checking? What are you looking at to get your assessment of how things are going?
Well, the honeymoon period for her is certainly over, and that's faded, and it's faded, I think, pretty quickly. And I feel beyond great. I feel really, really great. Elon put up a poll yesterday. He polled all the Twitter followers, and I think there was 11 million respondents or something along those lines. My father won 78% of them, right, as to, who they'd pick for president. And, it's pretty decisive. You see all these polls that are put out by the New York Times and others, and, they'll have, 700 people that they polled. And, I like the polls to have 11 million. But, Vince, it breaks down to this. There's not a single person in the country right now that's not feeling economic pressures. And they're feeling it. They're feeling it in their gut. They're feeling it in their stomach. Every aspect of life is unaffordable in this country right now. And people feel it. As we're speaking right now, somebody's listening to us and they're trying to get, their home refinanced. And under my father was 2.5%, and their interest rates are about to jump to 8%. It means they're going to pay 3 to 4 times as much. It's going to absolutely bury them.
Yeah.
As we're speaking, there's somebody that's filling up at a gas pump right now, and they remember gas under my father at under $2, and guess where it is today? $5, $6. I just filled up my SUV. It was $125 to fill up my SUV. It was insane. People are trying to get auto insurance, and auto insurance is one of the things that's gone up the most. It's gone up, almost double. Same thing with homeowners insurance. Same thing with people's utility bills, right? I could go on, and then forget about grocery prices. The same basket of groceries that people are buying under my father versus today are 3.5 times as expensive. People are getting crushed, and all the while, Vince, people haven't had a raise in this country. Median income is, the exact same as it was before.
Yeah.
Wages have been totally stagnant, despite the fact that you've had massive inflation. And so when I hear Kamala Harris come out, yes, day one, I'm going to focus on prices. Kamala, where the hell have you been? Yeah. You can do it right now. If you care, start right now. Start right this second. But they won't do it. It's the same thing with the border. The first day, I'm going to get very tough on the border. My father built 600 miles of wall and built the steel for the entire wall, meaning, the fencing for the entire wall.
Right.
All they needed to do was stand it up. All right? It was all done. They sold it for scrap metal. And you mean to tell me that you're going to come out now and tell the American people that you're going to get tough on the border? We've had 300,000 children in this country die to fentanyl. Not just children, but a large, proportion were children dying to fentanyl. Where have you people been? You haven't done a damn thing about it. Americans are dying. You have the worst drug epidemic in the country's history. People are dying, and you're not even talking about it. Forget about not doing anything about it. You're not even talking about it. It's so disingenuous. And so I feel it, Vince, in my heart. People know the reality of 4 years ago versus today. They do. They feel it in their pocketbook. They feel it in their homes. They feel it in their families. They feel it as they work their second job. They feel it as we speak right now. As somebody knows that they have a bill coming due that they're not going to be able to pay, or they're going to really struggle to pay, or they're going to need to make some huge sacrifice in the world to pay it, all because of runaway inflation caused by these people. And that's why I feel good. I mean, Kamala can get up there and she can lie to people. She can pretend she's never met Joe Biden. She can say, yes, day one, I'm going to go after companies for costs. You're going to let Trump's tax cuts expire, the largest tax cuts, individual tax cuts in the history of our country. Yet you're going to go after companies. If you want to make things more affordable, how about you take down the cost of energy, which you can do immediately? Remember, their first policy was, banning the Keystone XL pipeline, which caused gas to skyrocket. How about you lower the cost of energy? How about you lower the cost of utilities? Right? Why don't you keep the tax cuts that have made America so profitable and that's made America's economy roar? Why don't you focus on getting interest rates down? Focus on these things.
Yeah.
That's how you put money back in people's pockets. Instead, she thinks the solution is just to start suing a couple companies. I mean,
right.
It's actually not. It's not believable. These aren't serious people. They're not serious people.
So Eric Trump, I think you've appropriately diagnosed so many of the problems that are going on, and the responsibility, the blame that is rightly placed at the feet of both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. One of the issues, and I think my audience is clear-eyed on this. They see it really clearly. But I do look at these surveys, and right now, Real Clear Politics, their poll average finds that Kamala Harris is up 1.8 points in the national polling, although President Trump has a much better situation when it comes to the Electoral College, which is really the game that you play in presidential politics. But why do you think that is? Why, when you look at the national polling and you go, why is Harris in any way at an advantage here when just a couple short months ago she was even more unpopular than Joe Biden?
Yeah, I mean, this is a person who literally couldn't get a single, she didn't get a single delegate in 2020 when she ran. She was the first person to drop out of the race. And so, it's really interesting to me. Elon Musk does a poll, as I mentioned before, right? And sure enough, you have 11 million people that vote on that poll. And 78% go to Trump. And this is among a younger demographic. This is obviously social media. It doesn't make sense, right? You have 11, 12 million people who vote over a 24-hour period of time. And it goes 78% Donald Trump, and the rest Kamala.
Right.
Some of the polls don't make sense to me. Now, at the same time, I'm also a student of polls. I read a lot of them, and I diagnose a lot of them. I mean, it's obviously something that we focus on. And, some of them don't make a lot of sense. You have 200 people, and then they oversample Democrats by third, and they weight independents is voting a third more for and you look at these polls and you're saying the same thing. This is just disingenuous, right? Sure. I mean, you do have a lot of sham polls, and you have those companies that are known to do sham polls that have never been right in any election, but continuously put them out, and so oftentimes they make waves, and that creates a horse race, and they do it to suppress voting. For a couple first, it's human nature to want to vote for the person who's right. winning, right? You've seen that. Look at the New England Patriots, right? Everybody became Patriots fan when they were winning the Super Bowl every single year, right? Now you don't have too many Patriots fans. It's kind of interesting how that works, right? And,
right. Bandwagon.
So they strive for that effect. or they strive to keep people at home. I don't think they're tricking anybody. They did this in 2016, and people understood the game. They did it in 2020. People understand this game very well.
I also suspect that part of it is to induce the fundraising. Big donors will open their wallets when they think they have a chance at actually winning.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. I mean, Joe Biden wasn't raising any money, right? He stopped being able to raise any money after the debate against my father, where and that's why they frankly threw him out of the party and off the ticket. But I think in my heart of hearts, I really believe that people feel the difference, and they're going to vote with their gut, they're going to vote with their heart, and they're going to vote with their pocketbook. And I haven't met a person yet that thinks that Kamala Harris is impressive. She hasn't done anything.
So let me.
She said she would do a lot of things, but she hasn't actually done anything.
So here's a note of encouragement for us on the polling. If you go back to both 2016 and 2020. Donald Trump is in a much better position than the polling picture in those elections. Back in 2016, Hillary Clinton was given a 3.9 percentage point advantage at this very time in the race. Joe Biden, 2020, a 7.2% advantage. Kamala Harris, as of this moment, just 1.8% in that national Real Clear Politics average. In other words, in the world where President Trump beat Hillary Clinton, back in 2016 with a much bigger advantage given to Hillary. Here, Kamala Harris looks very weak according to these surveys.
Yeah, and by the way, Trump is a person who's always overexceeded poll numbers, right? I mean, so many people, they call up, Trump supporters, and they just didn't care to speak to them, or they would just say, hey, I'm voting for Kamala, I'm voting for Hillary, I'm voting for whoever it was at the time, right?
Right.
And so he's always vastly outperformed his poll numbers. I mean, historically, you can go back and look by a wide margin. But I can't tell you, Vince. I mean, let's just use the anecdotal. I mean, I'll hop on a plane, and I'm hopping on one, in a couple minutes. But I'll hop on a plane, and literally everybody on the plane will come up to me and, hey, we love your father. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for what he's done for my kids. Thank you for what he's done for the country. Thank you for you guys fighting as hard as you have, despite the relentless attacks. Our church group's praying for him. Our family, our whole block is praying for him. I hear that every single day. I mean, the amount of love out there is unbelievable. I mean, I saw love in 2016 like you couldn't believe. I saw love in 2020. I've never seen so much love as what we're seeing right now.
So the Eric
Trump, it's remarkable.
The appreciation for your father also extends to the Gold Star families. I want to ask you about this story because last week, Monday, your dad goes to Arlington and spends some important time with the Gold Star families who lost their children in Afghanistan. And since that event, which again was really touching to see, the left has been undertaking an all-out attack on the event itself and accusing your dad of politicizing the deaths of these kids. And in fact, over the weekend, Kamala Harris decided to attack the Gold Star family event herself and posted to her social media account an attack. Just what do you make of this decision to attack that important event and the fact that, I think this is campaign suicide for Kamala Harris to launch an attack on the Gold Star families.
Well, it is, and she also picked a running mate, and Tim Walz, who said he was in Afghanistan when he never went to Afghanistan. I mean, this is a guy who lied about stolen valor. I mean, literally, the guy said in a speech that when I was over in Afghanistan, the guy never deployed. He never deployed. He quit the military weeks before, and all of his, all of the rest of the people in his company and his battalion came out, and they were, just lambasting him. We couldn't believe it. We couldn't believe when he pulled out. We got orders to go overseas, and he literally dropped out of the military. But I think it's beyond disgusting. I think it's horrible. You have the image of Joe Biden. I mean, she's at home doing absolutely nothing, that day, avoiding the press, as she always does. And my father goes and lays a wreath on the tomb of the unknown soldier in honor of, obviously, Abbeygate, where you have those 13 incredible people who are lost based on the most incompetent withdrawal out of a war zone in history. I mean, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our nation. Joe Biden is sleeping on a beach, and my father is in a suit and tie, laying the wreath at Arlington. It tells you everything you need to know between the difference of this administration, the one in power right now, and the past administration. And It looks so weak for the United States of America that we don't have the commander in chief out there. We didn't have the vice president out there. They're nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
They're hiding. They don't want to do any interviews. They don't want to be seen. Yet my father will go do what they should have done, considering those people were lost on their watch, not on his.
Yeah, and then, of course, they decided to spin out of this. They attacked the event, which is awful, considering the Gold Star family has extended an invitation to your dad, and we're grateful that he was there. Of course, they're the ones who are speaking up now about all of this. They've released a series of videos this weekend really tearing into Kamala Harris for not being there for them and for attacking the event that they wanted.
They lost their kids based on pure incompetence. I couldn't even imagine the feeling. I've got two kids. I couldn't even imagine the feeling that our government left people to die the way that these guys were left. Oh. Withdrew from Afghanistan as you had people falling off of, the wheel wells of planes at 10,000 feet. I mean, what an embarrassing day. 20 years, literally trillions of dollars spent. And that's our exit. The whole world was laughing at us. It made our country look so weak, and it's truly horrible. That would have never happened under my father.
Yeah.
And Bagram Air Force Base, you know who has it now? You know who controls it now? The Chinese control it. The Chinese control one of the largest military installations anywhere on Earth in one of the most important strategic locations, all because of Biden and Harris's incompetence. It's devastating. It's truly devastating for our country on an emotional standpoint, on a strategic standpoint. We're better than this. We're better than this. The United States of America doesn't stand a chance if this is the kind of leadership that we have in place. Focus on yeah, thanks, Vince.
Eric Trump, thank you very much. With the Trump Organization, of course, the son of President Donald Trump. Sir, good to talk to you today. Just got a note from Deborah, who messages me. She wants to know why more people don't realize Tim Walz's own brother hates his ideology and doesn't think he should be anywhere near power. It's a great point, and I thank you, Deborah, for reminding me of this. The New York Post has a story up about this right now. Tim Walz's older brother is, quote, 100% opposed to all of his ideology, end quote, and believes that the VP hopeful is, quote, not the type of character who should be making decisions about the U.S.'s future. In case you were wondering. Now, let me point out, I know that these guys have been distant from one another for years, according to Jeff Walz, who was posting to social media about all of this. But the way the left handles this stuff, they will find the one Trump niece, and they say, well, look at her. She doesn't like Donald. And then they'll use that girl as the basis by which to attack Trump and say, hey, look at this family member hates. Look at what happened with Robert Kennedy's family. They tried out every Kennedy they can possibly find to attack Robert Kennedy. So I'm sorry, but turnabout is fair play. And this is his brother, Tim Walz's brother, Democrat vice presidential candidate Tim Walz, is not the type of character who should make decisions about America's future. His older brother warned in a series of damning Facebook comments this week. I'm 100% opposed to all of his ideology, Jeff Walz declared Friday evening about the far-left Minnesota governor and the running mate of the Democrat presidential candidate, Kamala Harris. He has so little faith in his kid brother, Jeff Walz is considering publicly endorsing former President Donald Trump's run for the White House. He told this to a Facebook poster who urged him to, quote, get on stage with President Trump and endorse him. Quote, I've thought long and hard about doing something like that. I'm torn between that and just keeping my family out of it, said the 67-year-old Floridian in the response. The stories I could tell, he continued, not the type of character you want making decisions about your future. So a warning there from the Walz family, stay away from this guy. Stay away from this guy. The weirdness that he displays is just an early indicator. Of course, what did he do with power as governor of Minnesota? He established a snitch line. If you caught your neighbor not wearing a mask, you had to phone it into the government. He sent out the National Guard to shoot people with paintball guns on their front porch. This is who wants more power. Please, for the love of all that is holy, do not give it to him. Please. I beg of you. On the show tomorrow, Tulsi Gabbard, the great one, Mark Levin, up next here on WMAL.
Complimentary workshop. Get 2 free tickets by texting FREE to 64,000. Text in the next